The architecture of unshakable ambition, reclaiming agency in the age of noise. Chapter 1. The illusion of speed, the core of attention currency. The American paradox. The American landscape is hyper-accelerated, yet structurally stagnant. We are trapped in a culture that mistakes movement for progress and noise for influence. You have been told that to win in a highly competitive economy, you must be faster, louder, and constantly visible. This is a lie designed to keep you reactive. In a society where everyone is desperately shouting for attention, the individual who has the capacity to sit in a room alone and stay silent holds the ultimate strategic leverage. The psychological mechanism. We fall victim to the hyper-reactivity loop. Your biological instinct, hardwired for tribal survival, has been hijacked by the digital architecture of the 21st century. When you immediately respond to every notification, market shift, or social comparison, your brain releases a microdose of cortisol, keeping you in a permanent state of low-grade fight or flight. You lose your cognitive access to deep, analytical thinking. You become an actor in an invisible script written by algorithms designed to monetize your distraction. You are not leading, you are being managed. The practical tool, the 90-minute focus block. To break this loop, you must implement the 90-minute focus block. This is not a time management trick, it is an act of absolute sovereignty. For the first 90 minutes of your working day, you disconnect entirely from the external grid. No emails, no texts, no metrics, no inputs. You dedicate this block exclusively to your primary lever of execution, the single task that moves your trajectory forward. If you cannot control your mind for 90 minutes, you do not own your life. The identity anchor. My attention is a fortress. My results are my evidence. Chapter 2. The Morning Command Center. Claiming the first hour. The American paradox. We wake up into a state of immediate cognitive bankruptcy. The typical professional reaches for their phone within 90 seconds of waking, effectively inviting thousands of external voices, global crises, and competitors' highlight reels into their subconscious mind. You are attempting to build an empire while actively poisoning the foundation before your feet even touch the floor. The psychological mechanism. This triggers the contamination instinct. By consuming external inputs before establishing your internal baseline, your brain primes itself for a defensive posture. Your morning dopamine levels are spiked by superficial stimuli, reducing your capacity for sustained, analytical problem-solving later in the day. You have surrendered the narrative of your day to the highest bidder. The practical tool, the Morning Command Center. The first 60 minutes of your day are treated as a strict identity ritual. During this window, you do not consume, you calibrate. You review your metrics, clarify your primary targets, and align your mindset with your long-term architecture. You claim your mind before the world has the opportunity to contaminate it. The identity anchor. I do not react to the day, I dictate it. Chapter 3. Identity over outcomes, the mirror of self-respect. The American paradox. The prevailing myth of American capitalism is that your bank account, your corporate title, or the vehicle you drive defines who you are. This is a backward equation. Wealth and status are not the builders of identity. They are the lagging indicators of it. Pursuing an external outcome to fix an internal deficit is like chasing a mirage in a desert. The closer you get, the emptier you become. The psychological mechanism. This is the trap of the social mask. When your identity is tied directly to external validation, you develop an acute fear of losing that validation. As a result, you become risk-averse, hypersensitive to criticism, and easily swayed by market trends. You begin playing not to lose rather than playing to win. Your self-worth becomes as volatile as the stock market. The practical tool, the identity log. To short-circuit this, you will maintain the identity log. At the conclusion of each day, you do not audit your external revenue or social metrics. You audit your internal decisions. Did you execute your commitments when you were tired? Did you maintain emotional control under pressure? You track your character execution brick by brick, decoupling your self-respect from external outcomes. The identity anchor. My identity is the cause. My wealth is merely the effect. Chapter 4. Problems as Data. The Strategy of Emotional De-escalation. The American Paradox. When an economic downturn occurs, a supply chain fractures, or a business partnership dissolves, the standard human reaction is panic, grievance, or resentment. We treat unexpected challenges as personal insults from the universe. This emotional friction slows down your response time and clouds your strategic vision. The psychological mechanism. This stems from the negativity bias paired with an entitlement complex. Your mind instantly labels an obstacle as a catastrophe to protect you from perceived failure. When you view a business problem through an emotional lens, you drain your cognitive energy on useless narratives about why this happened to you, rather than focusing on how to solve it. The practical tool. The 24-hour reset protocol. When a crisis hits, deploy the 24-hour reset protocol. For 24 hours, you are barred from making emotional commentary or permanent strategic shifts. You treat the problem purely as unprocessed information. Strip away the adjectives. Extract the cold, raw data from the event. Once the emotional volume is lowered to zero, you execute your countermove with surgical precision. The identity anchor. Obstacles do not define my day. They populate my database. Chapter 5. Strategic Detachment. The Power of the Silent Observer. The American Paradox. In high-stakes business environments, there is a pervasive belief that the most aggressive, loud, and domineering person in the room holds the power. We see it on corporate stages and social media, the constant performance of dominance. But true leverage does not bark, it observes. The psychological mechanism. The loud performer operates from a place of deep insecurity, driven by the need for immediate validation. They reveal their hand, their fears, and their intellectual limitations through their inability to stop talking. By remaining emotionally unattached and quietly observant, you allow others to overextend themselves, giving you clear insight into their behavioral truths. The practical tool. The one more rule. Apply the one more rule to your cognitive endurance. In moments of social tension or negotiation, force yourself to take one more breath, wait one more second, or ask one more clarifying question before responding. Let the silence heavy the room. By delaying your reaction, you retain complete strategic detachment and force your counterparty to reveal their true position. The identity anchor. I am the calm observer. My silence is my strength. Chapter 6. Emotional Regulation as Strategy. Cognitive Access Management. The American Paradox. We live in a culture that romanticizes passion and raw emotion. Entrepreneurs are told to feed their anger, their hunger, and their desperation to fuel their growth. While raw emotion can provide a temporary spike in energy, relying on it to build a sustainable empire is like using lighter fluid to heat a house. It burns violently, then leaves you freezing in the ash. The psychological mechanism. High emotional volatility restricts your cognitive access. When your brain is flooded with intense emotion, whether anger, anxiety, or even manic euphoria, the prefrontal cortex goes offline. You lose the ability to calculate risk, recognize patterns, and think 3 steps ahead. Emotional regulation is not a moral virtue, it is a cutthroat competitive strategy. The practical tool. The calibration audit. Implement the calibration audit 3 times a day, at 10 a.m., 2 p.m., and 6 p.m.
Stop what you are doing and assess your internal temperature on a scale of 1 to 10. If your internal state is above a 5 in either direction, positive or negative, step back from decision-making. Force your heart rate down, ground your perspective, and return only when your mind is a flat line of objective focus. The identity anchor. My mind is a cold laboratory, not a theater of drama.
Chapter 7. Subtraction over addition. The art of clearing what weakens. The American paradox. The American self-improvement industry is obsessed with addition. To fix your life, you are told you need more habits, more supplements, more tools, and more networks. This creates a cluttered, fragile psychology. True resilience is not built by adding new armor. It is built by removing the dead weight that is pulling you down. The psychological mechanism. We suffer from the endowment effect. We cling to toxic habits, unproductive relationships, and outdated business models simply because we have invested time or money into them. This cognitive bloat drains your focus and dilutes your execution. Optimization is almost always a process of elimination. The practical tool, the subtraction protocol. Every 90 days, run the subtraction protocol. Look at your calendar, your balance sheet, and your social circle. Identify the top 2 commitments, habits, or associations that are draining your energy without producing asymmetrical returns. Cut them cleanly. No explanations, no guilt. Strip away what weakens you to allow your natural trajectory to rise. The identity anchor. I am defined by what I reject, not what I tolerate. Chapter 8. Reading behavioral truth. Dissecting the performances. The American paradox. In the United States, optimism is a commodity. People are highly skilled at selling themselves, making grand promises, and curating an image of competence. If you manage your team, your investments, or your partnerships based on what people say, you will be perpetually disappointed and financially compromised. The psychological mechanism. Words are performances. They cost nothing to produce. Human beings are hardwired to display their idealized selves under normal conditions. However, a person's true character and operational capacity are only revealed under structural pressure, specifically the pressure of tight deadlines, scarce resources, and conflicting incentives. The practical tool, the pressure test. Never evaluate a partner or employee based on an interview or an initial pitch. Implement the pressure test. Assign a low-stakes, high-urgency task with clear constraints. Watch their behavior when things do not go according to plan. Do they blame external factors, or do they take extreme ownership? Their execution under pressure is the only behavioral data that matters. The identity anchor. I do not listen to promises. I evaluate patterns. Chapter 9. The root system, building brick by brick. The American paradox. We are a nation obsessed with the visible harvest. We celebrate the funding round, the exit, the launch, and the promotion. This hyper-focus on the end product breeds deep impatience. It causes people to build businesses and lives on shallow foundations, collapsing the moment the macroeconomic winds shift. The psychological mechanism. This is the fallacy of short-term optimization. When you optimize for immediate, visible validation, you neglect the deep, unsexy structural work required for long-term dominance. You focus on the leaves of the tree, while the roots are rotting underneath. The practical tool. The brick-by-brick audit. Every Sunday evening, Document the foundational actions you took that no one else will ever see. Did you refine your operational systems? Did you master a complex technical skill? If your weekly pride relies entirely on public applause, your architecture is inherently unstable. The identity anchor. My roots grow deep before my branches reach high. Chapter 10. The invisible season. The foundation of unshakable dominance. The American paradox. The hardest test an ambitious individual will ever face is the period where the input is high, but the feedback is entirely silent. In a world accustomed to instant gratification, this silence feels like failure. Most people quit during this phase, returning to the comfort of mediocrity because they cannot endure the lack of applause. The psychological mechanism. This is the crucible of the invisible season. It is the space between your old life and your new trajectory. Your brain will scream for validation. It will try to convince you to abandon the strategy, to chase quick, short-term dopamine hits. But it is precisely in this quiet, unmonetized space that your true capacity is forged. Conclusion. Understand this truth deeply. The work done in the dark is what determines your position in the light. The invisible season is not an obstacle to your success. It is the absolute prerequisite for it. When you are working, refining, sweating, and iterating without a single soul noticing, you are not wasting time. You are building the unshakable architecture of your future. Let the competitors have their shallow internet metrics, their temporary applause, and their loud, fragile performances. Your trajectory is different. You are playing a longer, quieter game. Stay disciplined. Stay detached. Reclaim your focus. Build your fortress, and let your eventual, undeniable execution speak for itself. The identity anchor. The silence of my preparation is the prelude to my permanence.